We're going.
You want my butt again? Oh, is he coming in?
Yeah.
I'm going to use the bathroom, then I'm going to...
Oh,
Okay, he's going to the little boy's room.
Yeah.
I gotcha. In the meantime, I'm going to play with my mic. I think I'm on 2. Is that better? Am I now louder? Which is a scary thing. People.
Actually, that's probably the best volume to have you at. So.
Oh, is that? Well, why? We want to pot it down, don't we? Because I tend to get a little agitated.
If you go any louder, it will be at the right level.
Gotcha. Oh, and I tend to go louder. That's definitely my MO. I used to drive audio guys nuts, by the way. What a shock. In fact, I think I drove a lot of people nuts. News directors, audio guys, co-workers. Yeah. Oh, well. Good thing is now I don't have to worry about that. So I'm doing a monologue right now, I guess. Am I streaming?
Yeah.
We are streaming. Okay, so we're just waiting for Dan Lothian to arrive in our... This is the before behind the media segment where we just start streaming. And eventually Dan will come in and take over and be professional and all that neat stuff. And we'll get going with our real show, the Behind the Media show. Got some great stuff about Roseanne Barr. Between Roseanne Barr and Donald Trump, we will have unlimited inventory of things to talk about when it comes to the media. No doubt. And then, we added Elon Musk to the mix today.
What are you talking about, Jimmy?
I'm just talking to myself, which, by the way, I do all the time.
You do that all the time.
I know.
By the way, how are your underwear doing?
Nice. And how's your underwear, Dan? I have Mack Weldon's on, so we know.
Oh, yes, our sponsor.
Our sponsor, Mack Weldon.
Exactly.
And we know. And now that it's gone through the wash.
Is it better?
It is much better.
And
it
holding
fits
up.
Better. Well, yeah, the underwear is holding up whatever it's holding up, let's just say.
This is a family-friendly show.
Oh,
so.
it is, huh? All right, I'm ready. This is going to be fun.
Yeah, it's this was kind of a weird week.
Yeah, well,
but
was
lots
it a
of
short
great,
week?
It was a short week.
That's what it was.
And the Roseanne Barr story, which is going to be something we're talking about here, has just dominated the headlines. You know, it's...
I know.
There's lots of stuff going on in the world, but that seems to get a lot of attention.
All right, we're ready.
So how you feeling? Good?
I'm fine. I'm ready to go. I'm ready to rock.
Let's hit it, Steve.
You're tuned in to Behind the Media. Dan Lothian and Jimmy Young bring 70 years of award-winning broadcast experience to the table. From newsrooms across the country, behind anchor desks and in the field, they've seen and covered it all. And now they are here to take you behind the media.
You're going to have to embrace technology. If you're an educator...
Oh, I'm embracing it.
I want you to use the phone to help teach these kids.
You don't need to do that. I was covering the president in China, and we did a behind-the-scenes video. This is a gong, or...
No, not a gong. A bong.
A bong.
With a B.
That's right. I said
the
gong.
Gong is a gong
that's right.
show.
I said gong.
Gong
Bong.
makes noise.
Bong.
Okay.
Why is it, Jimmy? Why?
Because sex sells, Dan!
True, but it's only part of the answer. It is, you have to be more creative now to be able to tell a story, and sometimes it's just a before and after picture and saying, which one do you want to be? Roseanne Barr blows up her hit show and her career with one racist tweet. The dirt, the fallout, the lessons.
An international thriller. A Russian dissident journalist in the Ukraine is murdered. Friends and families grieve. But was this really a crime? Fake news to catch a hitman.
A woman gives her doctor a 1-star rating on Yelp, and now she finds herself in legal hot water, and she's facing mounting legal bills.
And bites behind the media. Quick hits of some of the other stories everyone's buzzing about, including Elon Musk, the genius who's having a meltdown over big media, and the New York Post's sexist Kardashian. I know it's Kardashian. I said it wrong. I was going to correct myself. Front page.
Front page. Oh, yes. Lots of hot stuff to talk about. Hello, everybody. Buckle your seatbelts. Make sure that your tray table is in its upright position. We're about ready to lift off. This is Behind the Media Podcast. I'm Dan Lothian.
And I'm Jimmy Young.
We find the interesting in media so you don't have to go digging around for it. Like us on Facebook, use the hashtag Behind the Media to engage with us on Twitter, and listen on iTunes and the CLNS Media Network. Today's episode is powered by Mack Weldon. It's a premium men's essentials brand. For 20% off your first order, visit mackweldon.com and enter promo code CLNS at checkout. We're also powered by Little Park Media, where ideas come to life, producing corporate videos and podcasts to tell your story. For more, check out littleparkmedia.com or contact info@littleparkmedia.com. Rosanne Barr. Everybody's talking about it, Jimmy.
It blows my mind that it's 2018 and we're still talking about Rosanne Barr, okay? Because I really thought that her time had come and gone and would never come back. And there's a little local angle on this because one of the Red Sox principals, Tom Warner, and
it's his company that's produced the original, I guess.
Correct.
And now brought it back, it's basically reach back, throwback period of time now where old shows are suddenly cool new shows.
Okay.
We talked about Murphy Brown coming back.
We will never see All in the Family or the Bill Cosby Show come back.
We won't.
Okay? Thankfully, let's draw the line, shall we?
Exactly. So here's someone, Rosanne Barr, who has been... let's say she has been very vocal about her political leanings to the extreme online in social media before they decided to bring the show back. So that's the established fact. We kind of knew that she was out there saying a lot of racy, edgy things. Conspiracy theories. Exactly.
Like, did she actually think that the 2013 Boston Marathon bombing, didn't happen?
I don't know if she thought that, but there's a lot of retweeting and mentions of other people's theories and even some of her own. So this all leading up to her getting this new show or the reboot of her old show.
She's been great ratings, by the way.
One of the top show, right, in the lineup.
And ABC
yes.
wanted to make that their focal point for their upfront TV.
Exactly. It's
when they go in front of all the advertising agencies and the media buyers and they say, hey, this is what we're going to have for this season. You want to sign up now because we're going to dominate our ratings. And,
exactly.
Oh, Rosanne.
And all of a sudden they have to cancel the show because
she's an idiot.
She's doing an all-night tweet fest, and she essentially compares Valerie Jarrett, who's the former top assistant advisor to President Barack Obama, who is African-American. She refers to her as basically a terrorist and a monkey.
Right. And I understand, according to one of Tom Arnold's, her ex-husband's raves on Anderson Cooper
she used to compare black people to apes all the time.
All the time.
Right.
And how this woman gets to come back.
Right.
Okay.
Well, apparently she wiped a lot of that stuff clean. She was able to go in and scrub her account of a lot of, unless someone had grabbed this stuff and saved it.
It's out there.
Yeah, but you can go in and you can scrub accounts. You can lock things, turn things away, however you do it. I'm not an expert in this area.
Right.
But apparently she tried to clean that up. And according to friends, they also tried to, not quite an intervention, but they tried to put a lockdown on her social media use leading up to the release of this new show. So everyone was quite aware that there was a problem here. And what did I say to you, Jimmy, that if I had been Mr. ABC person, I would have offered her a millions of dollars incentive to stay off social media, realizing that you had a ticking time bomb. I would have given her a reason not to tweet.
Right. Oh, no, an incentive.
An incentive. Maybe $1 million for every 6 months.
Is there any way we can get that message to the guy in Pennsylvania Avenue in Washington, D.C.?
Yeah, well, yeah.
I was in his neighborhood last weekend, by the way.
Yes, you were, standing outside and sending me photos.
I did. I said, hey, I'm in your hood. Your old stomping ground.
The thing that gets me is that, and obviously there's been a lot said about her mental state, about some health issues that she's had. Of course, you can't blame racism on health issues, but
that's learned behavior.
That's learned behavior.
Right.
But is there no understanding of how a tweet can unravel not only your life but your career? Because now her agency has apparently also dropped her.
Good.
Her talent agency.
I hate to say it. Good. I'm sorry. You know what? And it really does seem like there's a lot of irresponsible tweeting going on amongst people who have a lot of money and a lot of time on their hands, I'm guessing. And I'm also going to include a few other people. We'll just mention Elon Musk because we talk a little bit about him. The Philadelphia 76ers president, Brian Colangelo, got in trouble.
What did he do?
He actually took some burner phones, or at least one burner phone,
Right.
and
Or burner account.
Burner
I mean, their
account.
accounts, right?
Right,
Yeah.
right.
Where you
And
put fake names.
and
right.
fake tweets, and he's tweeting against his own employees, the basketball team that he owns, the Philadelphia 76ers. And I'm thinking, what is the motivation behind that?
Well, isn't it maybe you don't have the guts to confront someone face to face? So let's say there was some beef I had with you, Jimmy, and I don't like conflict, so I'm not going to confront you about it, but I'm going to do a fake, whatever, twirlybird dot whatever at Twitter, and I start
Wait a second. Hashtag twirlybird?
and I use that to get my point to you, and I use that. Maybe that's it. He can't confront people with the truth, and so he uses these ghost accounts in order to get his message out there.
You should, and again, this is never going to happen. I always say, no one over the age of 40 should be dealing with technology. It's very dangerous. Hillary learned this lesson too.
Yes.
Okay.
Exactly.
And it's irresponsible use of social media.
Yes, and you would think that at this level, with so much at risk to lose, you would shape up.
Yeah, but you get the example. Unfortunately, is my pal down in D.C.
Yes,
not my pal. Okay,
well, yeah, he is your
Mr.
pal.
POTUS. No,
he is your
he's
pal.
not my pal.
I think he's becoming your pal.
No, he's not.
So
he's giving me great material though, and it disgusts me, and I'm embarrassed by it. But it is what it is.
Now,
I didn't mention his name yet.
No, you haven't, but you will. Were you surprised at how quickly ABC moved to ouster? I mean, they
not
did
not in this day and age.
She came back and apologized almost within a short period of hours.
Right.
And they were quick to boom. She's gone. We're canceling. It's not even like
I'm
we're going to investigate.
You know
this.
what? You know what happens when you have a track record. Let's face it. She has a track.
So
record.
they knew.
They knew what they were getting into.
So there was no investigating that needed to take place.
No, and in fact, but I do think that they probably said, "Look, you cannot step over the line because this is your last chance."
Yeah.
You know how you get a last chance?
Yes, and some people get many last chances.
Many last chances, but in this, you remember a baseball player named Steve Howe by any chance?
I don't. Why would I remember that?
9 times.
You remember it?
9
I
times.
didn't know it the first time.
9 times he tested positive for cocaine, and 9 times he came back.
Yes. Well, she may come back. Maybe not in this particular role, but
maybe she'll join Elon Musk's new media network.
Maybe.
Or maybe the POTUS will go.
Who knows?
Go to
He'll
the new
start
media
something.
network. Yeah.
Here's what's troubling when you decide to go out and do craziness on Twitter and you blow up your career. In a situation like this, you're not just blowing up your career. You are shattering the careers of people who are supporting their families.
Right.
There are, for those of you out there who think just the stars run the show, there are hundreds of people behind the scenes who make it happen. Yeah. And these are sound people and grips and other techs and makeup people and all that. And when you get a hit show, you realize that it's not only the immediate money that you're going to get, but if it's a hit show for a certain period of time, I think it's 7 years, you will get so much money off of that for the rest of your life.
Right.
And so this means a lot to people, and they're excited. It's so hard to get a hit show. And now they get a hit show, and it's undone by something so stupid.
Right.
And now
controllable by the way, humans do stupid things
that they can control
all the time that we can control.
Right.
And we still do it.
There's a lot of stuff you can't control.
I saw a driver today on the road do a stupid thing. Okay.
Yeah, well,
I mean, how many times have we all seen that?
Yeah, people do stupid things they can control. And it's almost as if there's this thing that compels them to stick their foot in their mouth or whatever it may be. There was no need for her to even be on Twitter. No need whatsoever.
No.
You don't need it's
certainly,
useless
certainly
information.
Not, by the way, tweeting at 2 a.m.
right.
or something like that is never a good
There
thing.
should be a
Nothing
rule.
good happens after midnight.
Exactly.
Right?
You should
certainly after 2 a.m.
Turn off the Wi-Fi in the house. Turn off the 4G, whatever it is that you use to get turn it
access.
Off.
It should almost like they should have a fine, not a fine, but like a blackout period.
Yes.
Right?
But what happens if you have an emergency? You need to tweet something important.
No. Tweets? No. You can make a 911 call even when the phone is locked, for crying out loud.
That's true. You can. I do think, though, that it is sad that we know that a lot of people have certain feelings and things they say behind closed doors. It is.
But stop.
Yes.
There's no more closed door.
Well, you're right.
That's what social media is.
Well, so the closed door is now in the public.
It's open.
Right. So should she get a second
It's
chance?
a revolving door. It never locks.
Should she get a second chance?
No! I'm done with her.
Okay, you're done with her.
I'm
Second
done with
question
her.
then is this. A lot of comparisons are being made by conservatives to other people who have said things anti-Trump, or even Trump himself said and I know you didn't mention the name, he said, look, I didn't get a call from the president of ABC, saying we're sorry that people have said bad things about you, Mr. Trump. Do you think there's any legitimacy to the argument from conservatives that why aren't people screaming and up in arms about some of the bad things, nasty things that the left has been saying?
You mean like Tom Arnold last night and Anderson Cooper actually calling the man in the White House a white trash racist president.
Right.
That's a quote. I didn't make that up. I didn't say that, by the way.
This is her ex-husband.
This is her
Rosanne
ex-husband,
Barr,
Tom Arnold, who said, look, she was a ticking time bomb. She's got some mental issues. We get that. If someone has that kind of mental challenge, what executive producer like Tom Warner, what in the world is he thinking that this is a good idea to bring her back?
It makes money.
No question about it.
But is there any comparison between those kinds of things that are being said, anti-Trump or anti-Melania or whatever? They're late night hosts who have said things about, negative things about administration officials, even using certain words that are not acceptable. Is there any relationship between those kinds of things that are being said by those on the left and the things that Roseanne Barr said?
Look,
is there any relationship?
We have a free society, don't we?
You can say whatever you want.
You can say whatever you
consequences,
want.
Though,
and there are consequences to everyone's action, and social media. It almost baits the loose cannons out there.
Right.
It baits the loose cannons because you talk about confrontation and how you can either anonymously post something, put it under somebody else's name, or those out there that just they don't care and they'll put their own name to it. Knock yourself out. You will be found. It is anything. One lawyer told me once.
Yes.
Anytime you put something in your phone with a little something in there,
something.
It's permanent record.
It is.
It's out there.
Unless you can hide it under something.
But
there is a way.
But somebody's going to see it out there on the internet.
Yeah, if someone sees it and
they will grab it,
right,
make a screenshot.
Yes,
we talked about this as a parent.
Yes, there are ways for that to happen.
So,
But I think, the part that really gets me is when you have the public out there arguing, it's only when someone on the conservative side says stuff that we go after them and not the liberals. Liberals get away with murder all the time and nobody ever says anything about it.
Okay, well, for the
but
record,
this is different.
I've never murdered anyone. I'm still liberal, and educated somewhat anyway.
But this is about race, and I think that's totally calling someone just general names like I don't like them or even some, even stronger language than that. It's different when we're talking about racist statements.
I'm going to tell you something, Dan. I'm going to say it again. I'm going to point the finger at the guy.
Okay.
This whole firestorm is fed by Mr. Trump's tweet after the Virginia incident when he first took office.
Yeah, but she was doing this long before. She's had these kinds of.
I understand.
She's been doing this for a long time.
She's been doing it.
Yeah.
I get it. But I'm telling you, that moment when he justified white supremacy with a somewhat casual tweet about, they have that. You know what? That fed and poured gas on it. And that is what triggered, I think, a lot of this.
Well, maybe.
My feeling, liberal, left-wing radical guy. Me.
Right. Well, no, I think you blame everything on him. So I can see why.
I will blame a lot of the empowerment of, and you know what? Both sides. Throw both sides in here.
Right.
Everybody's empowered because it's a free society and I have the right to say whatever I want. And Lord knows everything you hear in the news is fake now. I mean, and by the way, media gets attacked for all this too.
Right.
It's the media's fault because we're supposed to be objective and think about things and just give me the facts. Okay.
So you won't give her a second chance. No. You don't think she should be allowed back on television?
No. And by the way, I don't want to see Netflix. I don't want to see.
You don't want to see her anywhere.
Facebook. No disrespect to Facebook. We love Facebook. We're on Facebook.
We're streaming right now. Yes.
We don't want to see Facebook picking up this show and playing it like Tom versus Time.
Right. Well,
I think
Watch
or whatever.
My
it's called.
sense is that this show will come back in some form without her. So
we can actually kill her off in the show?
Well, I think something will happen around her. Although I do believe the reason the show was so successful is because she
is crazy.
She
is. And that's not a good word. I don't want to use that word.
No.
Mentally challenged.
Well, I think she is also very good at what she does.
Does she do?
She's
Dan?
funny.
Does she make? Yeah. I disagree.
Well, for those who like that type of show, she's funny.
Okay, fair enough.
Come on,
that's accurate.
you can't argue with the large audience that show, the #1 hit
That's
show.
what concerns me, Dan.
But it's not. Look, it's not like they were saying racist things on the show. They weren't. It's just that people like whatever it is, whether it's a train wreck that you're tuning in, whether it's the topical, the kinds of topics. It's the everyday man kind of show. People relate to that, and that's why they like it. Now the question is this: should you like a show where you know the person behind it has been accused of being a racist?
No, I don't.
Should you support a show?
Sorry, no.
Okay.
Don't.
I'll make sure if you go into a business that's owned by a racist, then
Moi?
You never know.
Yeah, that ain't happening.
Well, it'll be. I don't think this show's going. This story.
And I give ABC credit for
moving very quickly. But I do. I think now there's kind of this knee-jerk reaction where a lot of people, anytime someone says something, is quick, fire them, get rid of them. Look, free speech, it's a wonderful thing in this country. And you're right. We are free. And you've seen a lot of this out there on social media. But what happened to free speech? Free speech is alive and well.
Free speech, you can't yell fire in a crowded theater.
Right, you can't. But again,
there's a line there, guys.
There is a line. But you're allowed to say whatever you want. But free speech does not protect the consequences. Right? There's always a consequence to that. And that doesn't, just because you scream free speech isn't going to protect you from the consequences.
Correct.
Okay, so we'll keep on top of this story because it's a sexy one.
And we do love the sex and media angle on everything.
Yes, we do. If you like this episode, let us know. Like us on Facebook. Use the hashtag #BehindTheMedia to engage with us on Twitter. Have questions or comments, let us know at info@littlepartmedia.com. That's info@littlepartmedia.com. An international thriller, a Russian dissident journalist is murdered. Friends and fans grieve. But was this really a crime? Welcome to this episode of Behind the Media. I'm Dan Lothian.
And I'm Jimmy Young.
We find the interesting in media, so you don't have to go searching for it. Like us on Facebook. Use the hashtag Behind the Media to engage with us on Twitter. And listen on iTunes and the CLNS Media Network. Today's episode is powered by Mack Weldon. It's a premium men's essentials brand. For 20% off your first order, visit MackWeldon.com and enter promo code CLNS at checkout. We're also powered by Little Part Media, where ideas come to life, producing corporate videos and podcasts to tell your story. For more, check out littlepartmedia.com or contact info@littlepartmedia.com.
Can I try his name?
Yeah, go ahead and say his name.
His name is Arkady Babchenko.
Babchenko. I like that last name. Yeah, he's a Russian dissident journalist. He's been living in the Ukraine. And there was allegedly a hit out on him, which we know there's been, over in that region, there have been a number of journalists who've been, assassinated because of their anti-government or, kind of writings, investigations, whatever it may be. So, all of a sudden, we find out he's murdered. I was driving down the road this week, and I was listening to NPR, and there was a colleague of his who was grief-stricken, saying he woke up to news that he had murdered, and it was a long, involved interview about the kind of work that he has done and the dangers that journalists face in that region and so forth and so on. And then it turns out
surprise.
All of a sudden, it's a dead man walking.
And well.
That's right. He was alive and well, and this was part of some orchestrated. It was a sting. He was working along with local law enforcement officials who felt that there was some connection to the Kremlin to his murder. So this was a way to kind of weed out those people who were apparently trying to wipe him out. And so they staged this murder in order to weed out those people. And apparently they have allegedly arrested a couple of people in connection with this. But it's just bizarre. And the reason I thought it was important for us to talk about this subject matter is because, first of all, there's so many things I see wrong with this. I mean, I'm glad the guy's alive.
By the way, a lot of journalist companies and Reporters Without Borders and a whole bunch of others that are out there. It's an unprecedented situation.
Right.
Dan.
So a journalist collaborating with law enforcement.
I saw his SVU. I saw his L Law and Order episode that was exactly
like
this.
Right.
Yeah.
So it just, where is that line? So I understand that investigators have to use all kinds of tactics to try to get at the heart of any potential crime. But using a journalist, especially during an era where everything that is being said, written,
Media's
reported
fault.
it's media and it's fake.
Right.
Now it turns out, he was pushing something that was fake. His own murder.
Yeah. Doesn't this go back to the guy in Maine who has made basically a living on
fake
putting
news.
out fake news?
Yeah, but there was something redeeming to this, apparently, because it was trying to
Stop the crime.
stop the crime before it happened.
But those Ukrainian law enforcement groups, I guess, have a well-deserved reputation for incompetence. That's a quote.
Oh, is that what? Yeah.
Yeah, that's a quote. Cover-ups and what have you. And my goodness, I mean, you think that you're, as a law-abiding citizen, someone who wants to do the right thing.
You're talking about the journalist?
No, I'm just talking about in
just
general.
in general.
Those
Yeah.
clear-minded thinking people. Somebody may have said, maybe this isn't the best use
Right.
of this.
Maybe we should do
Think about another way to do this without actually announcing his murder.
Right. It just seemed, there's so many, as we start unpacking this, there is the part of watching your friends and family members and others grieve about the loss of, your death.
Right. By the way, the journalist
Right.
had to understand that the effect on the people in his circle, his
Right.
family,
It would
his
be
friends,
intense.
would be intense.
Right. I mean, again.
And he didn't feel like he had a choice, I might add.
Right, exactly. He felt that they came to him,
right,
and they basically laid out the plan, and he felt compelled or forced in a way, not forced, but he felt like he had no alternative but to go along with this.
He was influenced, certainly.
He was strong influence.
Right.
Yeah, like his arm was being twisted and then
Right.
pulled up behind his neck. They didn't describe it that way. That's something I said. But he certainly felt that this was something that he had to do, and it just seems that there was so much that was potentially wrong about this that he would have taken a step back and said, you know what, if you truly believe that there are some goons behind this, then let's go and investigate that, use your investigative techniques, hidden camera, whatever it is, but I can't be a part of this because it's going to ruin me as a reporter.
No.
I can't.
Then again, the alternative is to ignore it and let the people who are actually conspiring to commit murder against this guy actually do it.
Actually do it. Yes, you can't. I know.
So that's why you imagine you're in that situation, Dan, and you're
but
going to say to yourself, okay, what's the alternative here? I mean, you talk about an internal conflict.
It is,
That's
but
a tough
I
one.
just don't think that you can't play, and you just can't play this way with law enforcement. I know Dateline NBC used to do the to catch a predator, right? So they would collaborate.
Entrapment.
Right. They would collaborate with law enforcement and with another activist group to essentially set people up.
They call it a sting.
Right. But this just felt like it went a little further because this was a guy who took part in a sting and then said let the public believe that he was murdered and let the grieving process play out for several hours.
It really, we're talking about a 48-hour swing on either side, right?
Okay. It wasn't that it went on for a long, long period of time.
He wasn't dead for more than a day.
No, but any time that passed where people thought were truly grieving at the loss. And the thing is that this works so well because there have been many other legitimate cases of journalists who have been murdered. And it almost seemed as if it was a slap in the face. And again, I understand that the purpose of this was to catch these people before they committed a crime. If in fact that's what is, was being hatched.
And it is linked to the Russian special forces.
Even though the Russians are saying no, there's no connection, which you would expect them to. But they
who lies best in this world of politics
exactly.
that we live in, and international politics in this day? They're talking about it. It's reminiscent of an Egypt attempt in 1984 to take down the Libyan strongman Muammar Gaddafi.
Right. No, we've seen,
and I told you, I saw it on an SVU. I saw it in Law and Order.
You have
Special
seen
Victims.
this happen before.
I've seen it happen. So
the other
somebody's
thing
watching
too,
TV.
And beyond the journalism part of it, I think you have a journalist who has essentially become a pawn in this ongoing political battle. So it's not just a physical battle going on where people are being murdered, but between the Ukraine and Moscow. There's been this, and it almost seems as if he became a pawn in the hands of the Ukrainians, which as a journalist is not something that you want to happen.
Do you remember that they've discovered what the fee was to knock off this guy?
Was it $30,000?
$30,000.
Yeah. Well, is that? But maybe that's. Well, you think that's not enough? He's like, what's the price of knocking? I don't know. I mean, I don't know. What
I'm
do you
not
mean
in
by
the
that?
market to hire someone. You know, I'm not in the market
I'm
for
just
this. So I
wondering.
wouldn't know.
Like you brought up the price. I'm
Right.
just
No,
wondering,
I
what did
just
you-
thought it was. I think that needs to be part of this, and of course now what they're saying is the price for his head is significantly increased, and he will likely require round-the-clock protection
Right,
for the
so-
rest of his life.
so
So
right.
the Ukrainian government, I'm guessing, and the
Right.
authorities are going to be paying now for the protection of this
Right.
guy.
But they apparently have gotten at least 2 people that they've arrested.
Yes.
So maybe they feel as if they've broken the case to a certain
Doesn't
extent.
this-
We don't know.
I actually think this makes him more of a target. I
Well,
really do. I think it's going to backfire.
I think you're right.
because
Look,
that, by the way, and that is the history of the Ukrainian police. They have a
they
bit
do.
of a track record
Shoot
of doing
first and
stupid,
figure it
right,
out later.
Right.
I do want, and we talked about how other journalists have kind of looked at this and said, wait, I think this crosses the line. One journalist described this thing as, quote, a mindless and tragic mistreatment of public empathy that discredits so many things at once. And in this particular case, this journalist says only the Kremlin wins in this particular case. And
Again, by the way, the Russians are doing. This is a good couple years for the Russians. I just want to say they're
Yes.
hacking
elections.
elections, hacking our modems. In case you
Yes.
haven't done it yet, you heard about this a week ago on our show. We talked about the FBI sending out a warning: unplug your modem
to fix it.
and put it back in 30 seconds.
So the
It's a
Russians are
30-second fix.
suspect
By
number
the way,
one in
Dan,
a whole lot of
excuse
things.
me, have we done that to the Little Park Media modem yet?
We have not done that.
But we
yet.
talked about it over the last week. I'm just saying.
We will. We
Okay,
will.
just
And
saying.
if for some reason we get hit with something, you can say, I told you so.
Oh, good. That'll be a great show.
Look, I think this is happening. Sometimes when people hear there's like, oh, this is happening way over there. It has nothing to do with me. It does. I mean, I think it
Well, it's
puts
setting a
under,
precedent.
exactly. And as journalists, anytime something like that happens, it feeds into this international narrative of journalists who just make things up. And yes, this is a different kind of case. It wasn't being made up for the sake of making up. There was something redeeming to it. But people will point to it and say, what can we believe when a journalist is willing to say, I got murdered, when in fact he was quite alive?
Are we progressing as a society?
No, I don't think so.
I
It's
think
2
we're
steps forward and 5 steps back.
I think we've taken a giant leap backwards for mankind.
Yeah, so off the moon.
Did you like that? Did you
Off
like
the
that?
moon
Off
and
the
right
moon.
into the sun.
Ooh, I like that.
Ooh, that sounds like
That's good.
I'd like to make that the title of my next album,
Yeah,
Off the Moon.
What's an album?
My next release, my next single, as if I have a first one. Now I'm going to my next one, will be called One Step Off the Moon.
One step off the moon.
If you like this episode and you want to take a step off the moon, let us know. Like us on Facebook. Use the hashtag Behind the Media to engage with us on Twitter. Have any questions or comments? Let us know at info@littlepartmedia.com. That's info@littlepartmedia.com. It's halftime, ladies and gentlemen. This show is powered by Mack Weldon. It's a premium men's essentials brand. Jimmy has ordered
and
will be ordering again.
Yes, no, absolutely will. And
you've washed.
I've washed
and dried.
them. Let me tell you
and there's
another thing
comfort
about
still.
the undergarments
Yes.
that I have on.
Yes, sir.
Okay, very wide waistband.
Oh,
Probably
what does
the
that mean?
widest waistband I've ever worn.
So it's kind of girdle-esque, is what you're saying. It helps to compress
I
the
think-
midsection.
Well, yes, yes, it does. I'm
To
not going to
give you
deny
that
that. I'm not
svelte
quite sure.
look.
It's a girdle effect.
Girdle effect.
Okay.
Isn't that what I said?
Yeah, I guess
Oh,
so.
I said girdle-esque,
Yeah,
which is
girdle-esque.
girdle effect.
Right. So I guess okay.
Okay.
And yes, the midsection.
It's been compressed a little bit, and
well,
it's
just
comfortable.
I'm
And there's
60
some
years old, man. We all got the freaking midsection issue here.
and there's some comfort in wearing
No
the
question.
cloth. It's breathable. Everything. You just love it.
Right. No, I do. And by the way, I've worn, this is a great thing for the Mack Weldon people.
Yeah.
I've worn many other undergarments.
Yes.
With many other names on them.
Yes.
Sean John, Calvin Klein, Champion,
Fruit of the Loom.
FOL, Fruit
Yeah.
of the Loom.
Yes.
So I've had a variety of.
So you've checked them all out, is what
I
you're
really
saying.
have
So
checked
it
them
gives
all
you,
out.
It gives you a good reference point. When
Yes.
you talk about this, it's not just some guy who came lately to underwear.
Right. No. I actually, well, it was just a few years ago I was potty trained. No, I'm kidding. Sorry. Anyway,
Well, whatever
good stuff.
you are wearing right now,
Yes.
Mack Weldon is much better. Mack Weldon believes in smart designs, premium fabrics, and simple shopping. It's the winning formula. Mack Weldon will be the most comfortable underwear, socks, shirts, undershirts, hoodies, and sweatpants you have ever placed on your lovely body. So get on board with the people who know. For 20% off your first order, visit MackWeldon.com. Enter promo code CLNS at checkout. This show is also powered by Little Part Media, where ideas come to life, producing corporate videos and podcasts to tell your story. For more, check out littlepartmedia.com or contact info@littlepartmedia.com.
Take a deep breath on this next one,
A
folks.
deep breath. A deep breath, Jimmy. How many times have you left a negative comment somewhere, given a low star rating to some company, travel, whatever it may be? Have you ever done that?
Once.
Once. Okay, well.
Just once.
Just once. Well.
Because as you know,
You're a happy guy.
I'm a happy
You're
guy.
Mr. Happy
I like
guy.
to do right by people. I've always said if you have something nasty to say about someone, just
don't say nothing
it.
at all. If you don't have anything good to
Right.
say,
Don't
say
say
nothing
anything
at
at
all.
all. No.
Well, a woman did have something to say to her doctor.
yes,
She
he
gave
did.
him a 1-star rating on Yelp and now finds herself in legal hot waters and facing mounting legal bills. Welcome to this episode of Behind the Media. I'm Dan Lothian.
And I'm Jimmy Young.
We find the interesting in media so you don't have to go crawling around looking under the table in a crack somewhere for it. Like us on Facebook. Use the hashtag Behind the Media to engage with us on Twitter and listen on iTunes and the CLNS Media Network. Today's episode is powered by Mack Weldon. It's a premium men's essentials brand. For 20% off your first order, visit MackWeldon.com. Enter promo code CLNS at checkout. We're also powered by Little Part Media, where ideas come to life, producing corporate videos and podcasts to tell your story. For more, check out littlepartmedia.com or contact info@littlepartmedia.com. So how costly is a bad review? Well, here you go. This woman in Manhattan, she gave a 1-star review on Yelp and ZocDoc.
Right.
ZocDoc.
ZocDoc.
I've never heard of that
No,
before.
but it's like zocking your doc, basically.
Right. So she has this gynecologist who's a Yale graduate.
Correct. And this is her annual visit to the gynecologist. Most women have annual visits to the gynecologist paid for by their insurance companies.
Right.
It's usually part of the regular.
It's a way to make sure that people don't say, well, it costs
Correct.
too much. I'm not going to go in for an
Correct.
annual checkup.
Right.
So she goes in and she gets billed for her checkup.
Yes, she did.
And gets into a war of words with the, calls the office there, says that they're very aggressive and defensive immediately. So she decides, hey, I'm going to post a 1-star rating.
She's
and negative
empowered by social media
to post a
sit
negative
down
rating.
at her keyboard and let it fly.
Let it fly.
Let it fly.
So she let it fly. And now she spent apparently nearly $20,000 in legal bills defending herself against this lawsuit, this defamation lawsuit by the doctor, who's Dr. Zoon Song.
Isn't it Yoon?
Maybe Yoon Song
Yoon
of New
Song.
York Robotic
Or Song
Gynecology
Yu.
and Women's Health online.
Yes.
And so this is something, it went back to July 2017. So about a year ago when she went in for this. I don't know what I think about this.
This is he said, she said.
It is he said,
No
she
doubt
said.
about it.
But so what, now you can get sued for leaving a comment at the bottom of an article?
And
someone could look at it, hey, I don't like your bad comment that you made. This really is free speech.
Yes, it is. And it's very interesting when we're being inundated now, again, by surveys. You see it on every email.
How do you think?
Yeah,
What do you think?
just hung up with Verizon. Okay, how did we do?
Be careful, Jimmy. We don't
Sorry.
want a lawsuit.
No. I'm just saying that was one of them I've used recently, and
you were yelling at them, actually.
Yes.
So you didn't give them a review. Actually, you gave them a real-time review.
I gave them a written review.
Oh, you did?
Yes, I
and
did.
A real
and I
time on the
suggested
phone.
something to them that I thought actually was a good suggestion, and I can certainly share that if we care.
What was the tone of your voice?
Well, the tone of the email or
Yes.
the tone of my voice?
But both.
I want them to learn the lesson of. Well, here's what I'd like them to do. First of all, I think the cable companies are in big trouble. I'm
Yes.
going through the cutting process.
Right. Yes, you are.
Okay? And I'm trying to figure out how the heck I'm going to use access to the various networks that I watch, okay, and not watch a lot of these other networks. So
But
I
did
try
you-
to explain this to Verizon. I'm
But
like,
did
wait
you
a second.
trash them at all publicly? Or was this more
No, this
of a,
was an internal survey to Verizon, just like you would get if it was AT&T or if it's, my goodness
Right.
gracious.
But it was for their you didn't
even
go
the
on some
massage,
site.
even Elements Massage, which I go to on a regular basis, they wanted me to post something, and I posted something positive.
Right. But
Because
so-
I've had a good experience
But
at
what if you
Elements.
didn't? You should have the freedom to be able to post whatever you want.
Correct.
If you put yourself out there on Yelp or any other public place where people are going to give a whatever their experience was, that's what they'll put there. So by the function of being listed, you have to take the good and the bad.
Right. Well, I think one of the things that needs to happen here, and think about this for a second, everybody pretty much accepts the safety of air travel.
Right.
How many flights a day are there? Thousands.
Right.
Tens of thousands.
And they all land safely.
Most of them land safely
Yes.
with no incidents.
Right.
We don't hear about
There are
that.
more car accidents and everything, people die in cars
I'm going to
and
guess
tractors than airplanes.
And I'm going to guess there's quite a few females out there who go to the gynecology office and have no problems.
Right, exactly.
They go in, they get what their services are supposed to be,
Right.
and we don't hear about them.
Right.
So,
but in this case,
the
lawsuit, $1 million lawsuit.
right, and it sounds like the office and the office support staff,
they need to be trained
not
how
only
to deal.
How to deal with it, but that negative comment will sit on the internet now for a long time.
Right.
So if you search the doctor, that most likely
That's
will
going to
come
pop to
up
the top
first.
And you know what? I had no idea who that doctor was before this happened. So it
But
draws
no
more.
good publicity is good. Any publicity
But
is good publicity.
Yeah, but in this particular case, I don't know. Like, this is one of those things that I would have tried to have handled quietly, because now that it's out there.
So it actually should give the consumer some leverage.
Exactly.
And
Yes.
and to get their point and to communicate this to the office, because she also was charging that she was being billed for services that she did not get.
She did not get. And they say she did get it.
Right.
But that aside, I mean, again, as you pointed out, it's a he said, she said. But I think that once you draw attention to something with a lawsuit, then more people are finding out about the negative review than probably would have ever even looked at that.
Right.
I can't tell you the last time I've gone to Yelp to figure out how somebody was reviewed. Maybe I should. Or how some business. Maybe I should be doing more
It's
of
called
that.
due diligence.
It
We
is
do it
due
in
diligence.
business when it comes to investments. We all do that.
It should. Maybe I should be.
And I know I should have done better.
But I will tell you this. I bet you fewer people would be going there to figure out what the review is for this doctor than now know about this negative review because of the lawsuit.
Right.
This has now opened up Pandora's box, if you will. And there's a lot of bad stuff. She's now alleging that they're releasing all kinds of private information about her address, her insurance company, all that stuff.
Oh,
so it's gotten really dirty, really nasty
Yeah.
over a review. And look, I think I would have said, when something gets to that level, it's not going to cost that doctor anything. Insurance will cover it if, in fact, that's what is wrong here.
I think that's what the issue is.
Right.
Because if the doctor's office says, here are the services we provided,
right,
and the insurance company goes, okay, this is what you should have charged for these services. We all get
it's easy to figure it out.
Right.
They should be, unless they're doctoring records.
Right. But that's
this should be pretty easy to prove.
Yeah, and think about that. Again, you're putting your faith in humans who will decide whether or not, this woman's posted a bad review on us. Let's throw a few more extra services on. I mean, it's not good.
I wonder if it's
not a good thing. And it's a he said, she said thing going on.
And
here
I don't think the doctor's going to be able to win in this particular case, because it's not.
I think the doctor should settle as quickly as possible to make this thing go away.
And unfortunately for this woman,
that review will stand.
Well, it will stand.
And he has to say, he could
Isn't
post
it a she?
You know what? I don't know the answer to that. So here I am thinking it's a she,
yeah,
a he.
I think it might be a she, but
again,
I'm not sure.
It's doctor-patient. Let's just leave it at that. That's
right.
generic. It can be any gender. Okay.
Right.
But I think that one of the things that the doctor should do to counter this is, here's a negative review.
Right.
Here's 5,000 positive reviews.
Right, exactly. And that's the best way to fight back. Not launching $1 million lawsuit where all of a sudden everyone's paying attention to it and knows, and it's out there. There was no need for that. And you can't look, people are free to post whatever they want, and I think in this particular case it sounds, and again, I don't know all of the pieces of this, but it sounds like it was fairly routine and fairly legitimate. And but it should cause people to think twice now. If you know that people are doctors or others or are checking out the reviews and seeing negative stuff and may potentially come after you and may make you spend $20,000 of money you don't have in order to defend yourself, I don't know. Maybe you'll think twice about putting a negative review down.
And this happens a lot in the contracting world. You know, if you have a contractor in, am I right? That's why Angie's List has existed, and there are quite a few other businesses are out there.
Right.
Do background checks on anybody that you're going to get a personal service from.
Right. Yeah.
And that's really what Yelp is there for, to get you to help you with this due diligence process. But again, maybe you need to call the doctor's office and say, "Look, I read this horrible review of yours, Yelp,
is there any
online.
truth to this? Tell me show me 10 others that are
Rather than asking specifically about that case,
right.
Can you give me 3 or 4 others of your patients who I could talk to, or perhaps see their reviews of the work?"
And I'm sure she's been saying that there are plenty of good reviews out there. But
it's like having a bad meal at a restaurant.
Yeah.
Everybody in the restaurant business, one of the toughest business. Parenting and restaurants are really like two really challenging things.
Parent, yes.
But
yes.
okay,
Actually, yeah, they're both really bad. You're right.
Right. Point being, you have a bad meal. You have one bad piece of fish or chicken at a 5-star restaurant.
Thousands and thousands of pieces of chicken or fish. Yes.
You're going to post something negative.
Yes, you are. And that's the life of being in that business.
Right. And it's also the empowerment that social media gives every individual citizen in a free speech society.
Exactly. But if I were a poster to these sites and would often go and critique various different places I've gone, I probably would think twice now because I wouldn't want to get tangled up in if some crazy person out there is going to file a lawsuit against me because I said I didn't like something. Is it worth it for me to put it out there? I don't know. Maybe not.
Ignore it. Go
to another restaurant where they do have good food.
Right. There you go. There's plenty of them out there.
By the way, I am getting kind of hungry now that I've heard that. Oh, man.
Sorry.
It's that time of day. Exactly. If you like this episode, let us know. Like us on Facebook. Use the hashtag #BehindTheMedia to engage with us on Twitter. If you have any questions or comments, please let us know at info@littlepartmedia.com. That's info@littlepartmedia.com. It's the fourth quarter, ladies and gentlemen. Are you ready to consume some bites behind the media? For those who can't eat the whole meal, we're serving up a few pieces. I'm Dan Lothian.
And I'm Jimmy Young.
This is Behind the Media. Like us on Facebook. Use the hashtag #BehindTheMedia to engage with us on Twitter and listen on iTunes and the CLNS Media Network. Today's episode is powered by Mack Weldon. It's a premium men's essentials brand. For 20% off your first order, visit MackWeldon.com and enter promo code CLNS at checkout. We're also powered by Little Part Media, where ideas come to life, producing corporate videos and podcasts to tell your story. For more, check out littlepartmedia.com or contact info@littlepartmedia.com. Jimmy, so many little bites happening around the world.
Let's start with Elon Musk.
Yeah, I like this guy in a weird way, right? He's a renegade.
Eccentric.
Yeah, he's eccentric. He's a renegade, but he's always going for pardon the pun, moonshot.
Yeah.
He's always going for the grand, big things, and he's been a darling of the technology press and investment press. All of those, they've loved him for a long time.
Yes.
What happened now, Jimmy?
Okay, so
he now hates big media.
Yeah, he does.
He's turning on the media.
Well, what a shock!
Everybody is.
That's because that's become the national pastime.
It is. Yes.
So anyway, this is a guy, as we know, an eccentric billionaire,
right? Yep.
Wants to colonize Mars, right? Among other things.
I'd like that too, by the way.
So I'm on board.
I want to go
that.
to Mars. It's just going to take a long time to get there.
That's right.
Right.
And,
but maybe you can go in a Tesla.
Where are you gonna find one of those battery chargers in the middle of space?
A very long extension cord.
So anyway, here's a guy who also uses Twitter.
Yes, he does.
On a regular basis. And I guess there's a analytic company out there called Quartz that actually identifies the number of tweets that a particular account might be, right?
And keeps track.
Yeah, yep. I think the POTUS actually has blown it up once or twice.
Yeah, he created Quartz. Yes.
That being said, this guy, Elon Musk, used to tweet about 88 tweets a month, a variety of subjects, right?
So not a whole lot, is just general. Yes.
Over the last month, he's up to 400.
Wow.
Okay? He's up to 400.
And what's he tweeting about?
He thinks Twitter is now allows me to bypass journalist BS.
Yeah.
So in other words, once again, I got my own media.
I can go directly to people.
That's exactly right. I've got how many? He's got 21.9 million followers.
That's 29 point
Don't
9
say
million more than I.
us. Well, by the way, I've decided I'm anti-Twitter.
Yeah.
I don't want people.
I think
following
Twitter's
me.
anti-you as well.
I'm sure they are. But I don't. You know what? I'd like people to watch this and give us feedback. This is our content. I'm responsible for every word that comes out of my mouth. I get that.
I'm glad.
And if you want to follow it, by the way, you can. If you don't want to follow it, use the mute button.
Yeah, and
you delete it.
Right.
Whatever. You have that right too.
Yes, you do.
I happen to think what we do is pretty entertaining once a week.
So don't
And by
mute
the
it.
way, happy anniversary, Dan.
Oh, this is our
A year anniversary.
a year anniversary
Year
of doing
anniversary.
Behind the Media.
Yeah.
It was first called Friday Afternoon Live.
Because we live stream this on Friday afternoons.
But we morphed into Behind the Media.
When we got involved with the CLNS Media Group, who we love as
Exactly.
our distribution partner and helping us out with sponsors like our friends at Mack Weldon. That being said, I don't want people following me
Right.
anymore. It's pretty simple. Do you really care what I have to say?
But he
in a
does
tweet?
care.
He cares. Right.
And he was the darling when he came out with, every time he comes out with something new and innovative, all of this great press. Then when the battery started blowing up in the Tesla, there was a lot of negative press, but he still didn't go crazy. And now it seems as if any kind of critical review of anything that he's doing is all of a sudden grinding him, rubbing him the wrong way.
Yep.
And so he has just been on this campaign to discredit reporters.
And he, from what I understand, a lot of these 400 tweets a month that he's out there doing are 80% of them are replies to his rants on Twitter.
Oh.
So in other words,
somebody replied.
he's saying something
people say
which
things.
pisses people off. So that person retweets or replies or whatever the heck they do on Twitter. Because I'm like,
you can
done.
reply to
I'm
the
done.
tweet.
You reply to it. You can share it. You
Retweet
can
with
reply.
comment, I think, or something.
Right,
Yeah.
retweet with comment, whatever. That then feeds his ego,
Right.
Because he wants to engage. There are a lot of business people, Dan, successful business people who love confrontation and love negotiations.
Yeah, I think he likes confrontation.
And I think he likes negotiations too.
And it's also a way, you know what? Maybe he's taking borrowing a page from the POTUS man.
You think?
About if you discredit them, then when they say something, and this is an admission by the president to Leslie Stahl of 60 Minutes.
Yeah.
If you discredit reporters randomly, often.
Right.
Then when they do come out with negative stuff about one of your products, you can just say, see, more lies.
Yes.
Maybe
And
that's his strategy.
It could be. And speaking of strategies, there's a guy, as we know, at Pennsylvania Ave there in the White House, who I believe never expected to get it there. He really wanted to lose the election and start his own media company. Elon Musk has started his own media company.
Yeah, and maybe this is all to
And
get
it's a
attention.
rating service against media. So he's going to rate your work as a journalist.
Oh, great. Yeah. So he
And I guess
bashes
there's
me
4 or
and then
5
rates
other
me.
ones out there.
Yeah.
Right. So he's going to give
Bash
you
him and rate him.
2 stars, 3 stars for that report, 4 stars for that report,
Yeah.
whatever.
Yeah.
And-
Club them and rate them.
Right. So
Okay.
we're gonna start rating the journalists.
Okay. The New York Post sexist Kardashian front page. Were you bothered by that?
By the way, I'll admit,
You
I
didn't-
have absolutely no interest and no
In
idea.
the Kardashians.
There are 2 things.
But you know what?
There are 2
Lots
words.
of Americans are.
I understand.
And more than
There are
Americans. It's
two-
an international sensation.
The Kardashians, I don't care.
Yeah.
Okay. The New York Post, I really don't care either.
So that combination.
I didn't do my research.
But so Kim Kardashian goes to
I've
the
heard of
White
her.
House to talk about prison reform
Oh,
with
that's great.
President Trump.
Okay.
Oftentimes, celebrities and their pet causes will be trotted to the White
And
House for a
and-
photo op
And I
with the
think there
president.
should be prison reform in this country, by the
No,
way.
you're right. And frankly, I don't care who's peddling this. I
Right.
think it's
a
an
good
important,
cause,
it's a
good cause to talk about.
Right. So she goes to the White House, and the New York Post.
Is that like a reality show? Kim goes to the White House?
That's the way it was portrayed by some of the
What a
journalists,
shock,
including CNN. The guy who took my place,
No
covering
one.
the White House, Jim Acosta.
No one has taken
well,
your place.
Who
Dan. They have followed your
who followed
lead,
okay,
your exit.
There you go. He's a little bit of a showboater.
Yeah.
But he anyway, he's been critical of this meeting, and so have some others. But this is their headline: Kim Thong Un, and that's a quote that was on the front cover of the New York Post. And then they referenced the meeting as, quote, the other big ass summit. Now, for those of you who don't know Kim Kardashian, she has made money on the size of her
Backside.
trunk, of her trunk, yeah,
of her trunk,
of her trunk,
Oh,
of
okay.
her
Yeah,
of her
backside.
of her backside, of her cushion,
Yeah.
or whatever you want to
By
call
the way,
it.
I have
She has
no
made-
idea. I know what that means,
Right.
But I don't
she has
even have a
big-
visual.
she has
I
a
don't
big-
even have a
She
visual
has
of
a
Kim
very
Kardashian's
large
backside.
bottom.
Great. Okay.
Which has been used, maximized like nobody else.
We don't need to know how it's been used.
led to a trend of other women wanting to enhance their reverse side.
Don't get me
Their
started
back.
about body.
So anyway,
body image is is also a subject that we can delve into sometime.
it can. But
Okay.
the question is, did the New York Post and did some of these other reporters go too far in making light of what was a serious visit? Just because she is Kardashian, just because she is all that comes with that, should they go to these sexist extremes to sort of poke fun at the meeting with the president?
By the way, isn't that the the mantra of the New York Post? Isn't this what they do?
That is what they do.
Okay.
But it's not just, so what I read to you there did come from the New York Post, but there were other traditional news organizations. They didn't go that far, but they were mocking, sort of saying it's a waste of time. Why is this even taking place?
Look, I think his
this
whole
should not be
presidency is a
happening.
waste of time, Dan, as you know. So,
Jimmy, a lot of people are very happy with President Trump.
yeah, I don't need.
Right.
You know what?
But when you are talking, again, this falls under the umbrella of reporters are getting beat up about the kinds of things that they're covering and the
Well, it goes back
ways
to
that
what
they're
is
covering
news and
things.
what isn't news.
Right. But can you look at it and say, well, why are they being so harsh? And I think they pointed out this with Jim Acosta, is that he had talked with John Legend years ago when he was visiting President Obama to talk about this very same thing. So
Interesting.
why was it okay then to report on it, and now you're poking fun at someone over the same issue who happens to also be a celebrity?
It has to do with the fact that their reality.
It's the whole reality
The
thing.
whole reality
Yeah.
thing, and look, I've never gotten into it, never liked it, never wanted. I can tell you right now, I don't think I've spent more than a minute
Right.
looking at reality TV.
Well, I just think, what this says to me is that we need to stick to just factual reporting and forget about this issue of editorializing. And that's where we get into trouble, when reporters all of a sudden start making fun of things and moving away from a fact-based newscast to this is what I think opinion newscast.
Right.
That's where you get into trouble. And it feeds the fire, the flame, the passion of people who hate the media.
You're asking reporters to not be human as they report their stories.
Right. They can be human because they are. But when you're reporting a story, keep your human in a suitcase at home. I don't need to know that.
Try to be as factual and objective in telling the story as possible.
Right. And some don't feel that they need to do that because they feel as if the current climate gives them a license to mouth off and sound off about anything.
The current climate.
Yes.
Gee, who started this?
And I'm not talking about that it's
created
80
this
degrees
climate?
outside.
No.
I'm talking about the sort of political
the
kind of
empowerment of the people that don't want to, I don't know, adhere to the rules, the nice rules of society.
Yeah, nice is no longer
Yeah,
good.
the golden rule of treat people like
No
you'd like to be
golden
treated.
rule.
There's no golden anymore.
Golden got melted.
It's been tarnished. It's really
it got melted and it
Speaking
flowed
of
down
tarnish.
into the drain. Tarnish, yes.
Okay, I got one for you.
Yes.
All right. And I do think that this is legitimate topic to talk about in the fourth
Oh,
quarter.
no. When you set it up like this.
No. It has to do with Tom Warner again.
Oh, okay.
Dude,
Who is?
He's the executive producer of Roseanne, is a part owner of the Boston Red Sox.
That's right.
Does this episode of Roseanne do you think the Red Sox have to do anything?
No.
No, neither do I.
No, I
and
don't
a lot of
think so.
people, of course, in this town, filled with media, with people who have opinions, who get paid to give out their opinions, think that they should.
Well, because what the argument is that
they changed Yawkey Way to Jersey Street.
So
okay,
that's what it is.
And now we've got an owner of the same team
who knew he had a
loose
a loose cannon, at the very least,
who had racist leanings.
Right, exactly.
Okay? And he gave her another shot.
And
it's backfired.
You could call it. Ooh, very nice. Play on words.
Yes.
You could call it an act of redemption to help her out along the way, to give her sort of a nice little cushion as she heads off.
But
into
you
the
don't
sunset.
think the team or even Tom Warner should make any kind of a statement?
Oh yeah, no. I think not the team. I don't think this has nothing to do with baseball. But as an owner, he needs to have a personal statement.
Right.
And so because the production, Warner, while it supplied the money and the wealth to be able to own the team, it's a separate entity.
The dollar you spend on your ticket a portion of that dollar went to Tom Warner's pocket.
Yeah, it did. But the show and the things that he has done on the production side are what helped him to buy that team. So there is that connection, but it really is about his personal portfolio. And I think that, yes, he needs to come out and say something. I don't know that he hasn't. I didn't see anything.
No, he had an initial comment right after saying, we regret this happened or something like that.
Well, there you have it. Anything else in the fourth quarter in the bites?
The Brian Colangelo thing for the 76ers, I think we talked a little bit about him already, so I'm done.
You're done. How was your week, by the way? How would you rate your week?
Oh, is this a survey?
Yes. And if you give me a bad survey, I just might sue you.
My week was great because
you played tennis.
And I didn't get too hurt.
Oh,
too injured. I managed to play. I also had a great visit over the holiday weekend. I know you had a family weekend that perhaps wasn't as relaxing as mine.
It wasn't as relaxing, but yours was relaxing.
Mine was very relaxing in the nation's capital, which, by the way, a beautiful, beautiful city. It still is. It's a great place to visit.
Mid-July.
It's well, it's steamy.
You're floating around the sun,
right? And I was enlightened by an art exhibit called The Burning Man that I really didn't understand or had ever heard of before.
Wow.
And now I understand what it's about, and I understand you've actually covered The Burning Man.
Yes, and I'm proud to see that you were enlightened.
I'm totally enlightened. Yeah, I mean that's why I visit my brother. By the way,
you only have to go to D.C. Normally, you have to go to a high mountain somewhere in Nepal.
Right. No. Great exhibit. I think it was the Renwick Gallery.
Very good.
Yeah. And
education, man.
Yeah.
Maybe
so
a master's
I got to
degree.
give my sister-in-law Rachel a lot of credit for that. And boy, does she know she has a challenge when she's trying to enlighten me and give me some culture.
When Jimmy comes whirling into town.
Because really and truly, I was really excited about just watching the seventh game with my brother, who's a bigger sports fan than I am and a huge Celtics fan like I am. And it was a difficult weekend on that end.
Yes.
But
there's always next season.
And in fact, I am so ready for next season already.
Well, there's not next season for us because we are always here. So
we're starting our second year together.
We're starting our second year together. Thank you all for making this show a success. As
this
we
guy
believe
had
that
a lot
it
to
is.
do with it.
The kid who's behind the switching of the cameras and making sure that this show actually comes off each week. We're very, very proud of the entire team here at Behind the Media, and we look for another year of successful shows. And by the way, we'd love to even have more advertisers come on board. I think we have some pretty good
We love Mac Weldon, though.
We love Mac Weldon. We'd love to have some other folks to power our podcast.
But they now have the category exclusivity of undergarments.
They do. And so does Jimmy. Thanks for listening and enjoying this podcast along with us. We know you have. Keep listening on iTunes and the CLNS Media Network. For our director, Steve Helmuth, and our producer and social media guru, Alex Barth, I'm Dan Lothian.
And I'm Jimmy Young.
And now you know what's behind the media.